Researchers to look for more graves at Florida Reform School. University of South Florida forensic anthropologist Dr. Erin Kimmerle will be back at the former Dozier School for Boys on Monday, the same place where she spent 4 years researching and unearthing the remains of boys buried on the massive 1,400-acre site in Marianna, located about 60 miles 96 kilometers northwest of Tallahassee. She'll lead a team on a mission to see if 27 anomalies discovered by a contractor using ground-penetrating radar on the site are likely to be human graves. There could be a lot of explanations for the anomalies. During the 4 years of it, the anomalies were found just across a road from where the Reform School had a barn and pasture as part of a working farm it operated decades ago, so there could be farm animals buried there, she said. The Reform School opened in 1900. It later became Kimmerle's team previously extended their search far beyond the Boot Hill graves, about 30 of which were marked with plain, white iron crosses with no explanation of who was buried beneath them. They examined Kimmerle noted that records show one boy was buried in Philadelphia, but when researchers checked the grave there, it was empty. If any of the newly discovered anomalies turn out to be human remains, Kimmerle said the pattern of where they are buried indicates that they were clandestine burials. In other words, that's when the initial work would stop and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and a medical examiner would be called. A full excavation.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.